Welcome to our deep dive. And let me tell you, this one's a doozy. We dove into Matthew Ball's book, New W, the Metaverse, and how it will revolutionize everything. And wow, just wow. This isn't just some tech trend. This is like a whole new reality in the making.
Yeah, what really struck me was how Ball kind of steps back and says, look, this isn't just about strapping on a VR headset, right? It's bigger. It's all these different things like virtual reality getting good
Yeah.
and the way we build digital worlds with game engines all coming together.
It's almost like, remember the early internet?
Yeah.
Dial-up and those awful AOL sounds? Try explaining Facebook back then. People would have thought you were nuts.
Absolutely, and that's what's so exciting and maybe a little scary about the metaverse. We're in that early stage, still figuring out the infrastructure, the tech, the rules, but the potential, huge.
Speaking of infrastructure, Ball gets down to, like, the nitty-gritty of fiber optic cables and stuff. Why should anyone even care what's going on at the bottom of the ocean?
Think about it. You're in this awesome virtual concert, right? Your avatar's all decked out. Suddenly, bam, everything freezes because the internet lagged out. Not exactly immersive, is it?
Ugh, the worst. So we need the internet to, what, get a whole lot faster?
Way faster. Ball compares it to a road trip. Right now, data's taking the scenic route when you need to be on the Autobahn. It's bouncing around different networks, slowing everything down.
Love that analogy. So we need, like, a data superhighway for this whole metaverse thing to really work.
Exactly. More lanes, higher speed limits, the works. We're talking massive amounts of data flying around as people interact in these virtual spaces. Fiber optics, new network tech, that's the foundation.
So next time Netflix buffers, imagine trying to work or play in the metaverse with that. Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But how do we bridge the gap from where we are now to this seamless digital reality Ball talks about? Are there any hints in, like, the history of computing about where this is all going?
Well, Ball brings up this fascinating guy, Vannevar Bush. Back in the 1940s, get this, he had this idea for a thing called the MEMEX.
Vannevar Bush. Like, wasn't he involved in World War II or something? How does that connect to the metaverse?
He was. But way before the internet, he imagined this machine, the MEMEX. It was like a proto-internet, a way to store and connect information in a web of nodes. Sound familiar?
Wait, so this Memex thing from way back when, it was like a blueprint for both the internet and the metaverse.
Kinda, yeah. The tech was totally different, but the core idea, connecting information seamlessly, it's exactly what the metaverse is all about.
Mind blown. So we're not talking about some radical break from the past. It's more like ideas that have been evolving for decades are finally coming together. But let's be real, when most people hear metaverse, they think games and virtual hangouts. Is that all it is? Fun and games, or is there more to it?
Oh, it's way more than just fun and games, though. There'll be plenty of that too, of course. But Ball's point is, this tech, it's going to touch everything. Education, how we get healthcare, even dating. Can you believe it?
Okay, now that's interesting. I can kind of see the education angle. Like, imagine instead of just reading about ancient Rome, you could, like, virtually walk around the Colosseum.
Right. Or imagine med students practicing surgery. But it's all virtual, no risk. Architects, they could collaborate on a design, but inside a digital twin of the actual building.
Hold on, digital twin. That sounds kind of creepy. What is that?
So it's like a perfect virtual copy of something real. A building, a city, even, and I'm not kidding, a human organ. In the metaverse, we could use them for, like, everything. Planning cities, designing products, even figuring out how to respond to disasters.
So instead of blueprints, you'd have this, like, virtual model you can walk through,
Yeah.
test stuff out. That's wild.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning. Think about learning history by actually being there virtually. Or engineering, you could take apart a jet engine without, actually blowing anything up.
Way better than a textbook, that's for sure. And you mentioned healthcare. What, like, I'm gonna have my checkup with a virtual doctor.
Think even further than that. Specialists could examine 3D models of your, scans real time. Therapy could happen in environments designed for the patient.
Okay, now that's kind of cool, gotta admit. And dating. I can't even picture.
No more awkward video chats, that's for sure. Imagine a virtual first date at a cafe, then a concert, even a museum trip, all without leaving home.
Goodbye, first date jitters, right? Okay, but seriously, these are big changes we're talking about. So who benefits most? Is this just gonna make the big tech companies even richer?
That's the big question, isn't it? Ball talks about this idea of platforms being super important, like look at Facebook or Meta, whatever they're calling themselves now. They're pouring money into this because they see it as like the next Facebook.
Yeah, that name change was no accident. And it's not just them, right? Apple, Google, Microsoft, they all want their slice of the metaverse pie.
Exactly. And that brings up a big issue. Who gets to control all this? Who sets the rules? And let's be honest, who takes home the cash? Ball points out a really familiar problem, the platform fee.
Platform fee.
You know, like how Apple takes a cut from every app sold on the App Store. The metaverse could easily become like that.
So are we talking about a metaverse owned by like 5 giant companies, and they get a cut of everything we do there?
It's definitely a risk, and Ball's honest about that. He says these fees could totally stifle new ideas, make it harder for small creators to make money, and yeah, give all the power to a few companies.
So what's the alternative? How do we avoid making the same mistakes we made with, like, social media? Can we build a metaverse that's actually fair?
Well, Ball thinks blockchain might be the answer. He thinks it could completely shake things up.
Okay, blockchain. Isn't that like a cryptocurrency thing? How does that fit in with the metaverse?
Think of it like this. Blockchain is a way to track who owns what in the digital world. In the metaverse, that means you could use it to prove you own, say, virtual land or digital art, whatever it is.
So instead of Facebook or Google saying, we verify everything, it's all on this blockchain thing.
Right. And because it's decentralized, users have more control over their stuff, creators actually own their work, and we could even see new ways of governing these virtual spaces.
Sounds pretty radical, but is blockchain even ready for something as big as the metaverse?
It's definitely still early days. Ball admits there are challenges. Can it handle a ton of users? Is it secure enough? What about the environmental impact? These are all real issues. But he argues that the potential benefits, like more transparency, less censorship, more control for users, they're worth figuring out.
Okay, so blockchain's like this wild card that could change the game. Interesting. But we can't forget about the real world, right? If we want a metaverse that's good for everyone, we gotta deal with the digital divide.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone even has good internet, right? What happens if the metaverse just makes the gap between the haves and have-nots even bigger?
That's the danger, right? To even get in the door, you need fast internet, a computer that can handle it, probably VR gear. We gotta make sure everyone has a chance to benefit, not just folks who can drop $1,000 on the latest tech. It's like, remember those public libraries with a couple computers back when the internet was new? We kind of need that same thinking, but for the metaverse. And it's more than just gadgets, right?
Oh, absolutely. You could give someone all the fanciest tech, but if they don't know how to use it, what good is it? Digital literacy, understanding this whole new world, that's key too.
It's like learning a new language almost. So education's got to be a big part of this. But I got to say, this is all a lot to wrap your head around. For the average person listening, why does any of this matter?
Because it's not science fiction anymore. It's already starting. The metaverse is going to change how we live, how we work, even just how we talk to each other. Ignoring it now is like, I don't know, pretending the internet was just a fad.
True, true. Even if you never put on a VR headset, this stuff's going to have an impact.
Exactly. Think about it. Remote work, online classes, those virtual concerts everyone did during, well, you know.
Yeah.
Those are all stepping stones to the metaverse. Even just going shopping, going to a concert, could all become these immersive experiences.
So it's not about becoming some virtual real estate tycoon or whatever. It's about understanding how this tech's going to change things, good and bad. But what can people even do about it? It all seems so, I don't know, big.
Start exploring.
Yeah.
Seriously, there are already virtual worlds out there, AR apps, even virtual events. Remember when the internet was new? The best way to learn was just to click around, see what happens.
Dip your toes in the digital water, so to speak.
Exactly. And don't just accept everything you hear. Ask questions. Be skeptical, especially of the hype. The metaverse is still being built. We all get a say in how it turns out.
Feels kind of like those old explorer stories mapping out new territory. Exciting, but a little scary too.
It is an adventure, no doubt about it. And with any good adventure, gotta be careful, keep your wits about you, and remember, we're all in this together.
Well said. And that, my friends, is our deep dive into the metaverse. We talked tech, we talked money, we talked about what this all means for, well, being human in a digital world. But before we go, one last thing to think about. What if this really the next internet? The place where we work, learn, hang out, maybe even fall in love? What happens to who we are then? How do we balance our real selves with our digital selves when those lines get blurry?
Wow, that's a big one. And it's not just about ones and zeros, it's about what makes us human in the first place. Really makes you think.
It does, it really does. So on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those big questions. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Let's go.